And then it starts by looking at the face. That's why we need the pictures, because we are talking about a facial driven smile design. This integrative smile design is facial driven. That means we look at the aesthetic helplines, the landmarks on the face, the shape of the face, and of course we go much further. We also look at the individual teeth, the elements, or the rest dentition in this case. We look at the gingival line, the width and the height of every individual element, and also very important, the axis of the different teeth. So after measuring all this, we use this data then for the smile design. If there are no teeth left, if it's an edentulous case, of course, we have to follow the rules for removable dentures using a wax rim, and then of course we determine where the central incisor should start, upper lip at maximum smile, and where it should end approximately 2 millimeters below the upper lip at rest position. Okay, so what is important for the actual smile design is that we take into account, and that's what we do in the software, in the ExoCAD Smile Creator software. We look at the teeth, at the rest dentition, at the face, and then it starts by analyzing all those aesthetic data and guidelines. We have to know, first of all, if it's a man or a woman, so the gender, the midline. Sometimes we have a midline shift. Important to know is that if this midline shift is less than 2 millimeters, it's not really considered a disturbing factor in the smile design. But of course, the axis of the midline, that's should be 100% straight. That's a really important factor. Then we look at the axis inclination of all the teeth in the aesthetic zone, the width and the height, the gingival zenith, of course, should be at the proper height and position, also slightly too distal. And then we have the interdental papilla, the incisal embrasures. So that's really about the tooth shape, then contact zones, and of course also the buccal corridor. So the smile width and the labial corridor should also be balanced in the aesthetic zone to come to a complete, nice picture. So what are we using here as general guidelines? We are actually using the so-called golden proportion or golden ratio. And this golden ratio, the simplest description of the golden proportion is that if we take the lateral incisor as a factor 1, then the central incisor should be or would be 1.6, and the visible part of the canine, which is the mesial part in this frontal picture of the canine usually, would be 0.6. So that's what is considered as golden proportion for front teeth. And then of course it's all about measurements and rules and symmetry and proportions. For the if you have this abrasion, worn dentition, we still have a good view on the width of the teeth, and then normally the width is between 75 and 80% of the height, of the length. So like this we can calculate the ideal length of the central incisor, which is in this case then 10.4, and then for the ideal vertical dimension, the length of from gingival line of the upper incisors to gingival line of the lower incisors. We look at multiplying by the golden ratio 1.6, which leads here to a total vertical ideal vertical length of 16.8 millimeters. So this is with, of course, also the overbite of 2 millimeters included. So this is quite normal. Normally we have about 18 millimeters. So these are proportions, measurements, and let's say calculations we can do to come to what we call the ideal smile design. And of course, also on the tooth shape, we are using actually aesthetic libraries here. A very known aesthetic library is from the book, famous book from Dr. Jan Haito, Anteriors. There he has actually very nice natural tooth shapes for both female and male. And these are digitized now. So this is an exclusive database which we can use in the software to design nice smile designs. And what you can see here is an example of this library where you can see we also have the possibility actually to shrink down the teeth from the enamel silhouette down to the dentin core, where you actually see the dentin core and the mamelon structure of the dentin. And this is a feature we are actually using in our FIT for veneer solution, because there we are injecting in 2 steps. First, the dentin layer with the dentin injectable composite in a translucent key, and then we move on with an enamel composite in a translucent key. So that's why we print both models of both structures and use this library and this shrinkage mode to get there. So once all this work is done and the smile design is approved, then an important step is optional, but for full arch rehabilitations, it's advisable to still order a mock-up. So this mock-up, we are using a mock-up like this. We print a model, we create a putty key, and there you can just use any resin or provisional resin material to, in one block, create a mock-up. And this already gives you a chance to physically test the jaw movement, if there are no premature contacts. You can check the aesthetic planes, discuss already everything with the patient, but also very important, you can check the actual physical lip support. And this is of course not possible in the virtual environment in the smile design, because there is no impact or influence of the muscles. This can be also age related, a little bit different, and also of course the phonetics can only be tested at this point using this kind of physical try-in or mock-up phase. So very important phonetic analysis and lip support, which we cannot perform virtually. So as a practitioners, I advise you to order a mock-up putty key to do this additional evaluation of this full rehabilitation cases. If during the mock-up something should be changed, you can rescan, of course. You can adapt the mock-up, you can grind it, or you can apply extra resin or composite on top, and then we need a rescan in the lab, and then this rescan is actually the base to the reference to for the final work.